best parts of being a cell tower lease consultant is finding those have-to-have-it type sites. So whether you're working with a top 10 airport client whose leases are expiring, or when we get a new client with a proposed lease only to find that there are no other options than their property, or when we have a client who has a rooftop site that's paying $10,000 a month and the carrier wants to renegotiate and we find out that they can't. Years ago, American Tower used to call these Mona Lisa sites. It's a very apt description. There's no substitute a few parcels over. There's no backup plan. The landowner has all of the land in the area. There's a sizable parcel. Either that or the zoning prohibits towers on all properties than the subject one. It either gets done on that client's specific site or it doesn't get done at all. Most people don't realize that in a typical lease negotiation consultation, what I'm trying to do is just find the point where the other side starts seriously consider moving on to lease another property. That's typically the limiting factor. But with Mona Lisa sites, that constraint isn't there. The conversation shifts to figuring out where the economics break for the carrier or the tower company. See, at some point, the numbers just stop working for them. It's no longer profitable, even if they desperately want the location. That begs the question, how does the average landowner know when they have a Mona Lisa site? And the answer is, most cases, they don't. And see, that's where Steel in the Air and we provide real value to our clients. Back in the day, before I started Steel in the Air, I was the cleaner. I was the guy that was brought in to resolve the tough sites that other site acquisition companies couldn't close, especially when we were in the prospect of getting a new market launched. These sites were critical, and that's when they brought me in. You don't get a feel for where these economic limits are by just reviewing comparable lease data. Our lease data is great, especially when you have lots of it and you can see the patterns, but it only tells you what a tower company or a carrier will pay if the situation is truly comparable. So let me give you two examples of how this looks in practice. Within the last 6 months, I had a site that was the only parcel in the area that was zoned correctly. It was surrounded by state-owned land and where tower development was a non-starter. Essentially, the tower company had no moves to make. In another case, I knew that the only two other viable options in the search ring had already refused to sign a lease. The tower company was out of options or alternatives, even if they weren't going to tell the landowner that. If you treat these Mona Lisa sites like a standard negotiation, more than likely you're leaving lots of money on the table. To be fair, that's where the fun starts for us. After doing 4,500 consultations for landowners over the last 22 years, they start to look very similar. These Mona Lisa type sites, though, are the challenge, both in doing the research necessary to confirm that there really are no other options, and then evaluating the true value of the site to the tower company. Additionally, because we don't have the safety of using comparable data, the pressure is higher to do right by the landowner, which makes me strive harder to get the best deal possible. But more importantly, not to push the landowner out of any and all deals. Obviously, we could put these things out to bid, but because I'm come from a tower company, it makes me feel that the company that first proposed the lease should be given every opportunity to negotiate a fair, at least by our standards, agreement with the landowner. But if they won't, then it's time for us to move on to find another tower company that will. Candidly, it's not hard to find tower companies willing to build Mona Lisa towers with potential for 3 carriers, especially in today's tower world. You wondering if you have a Mona Lisa site? Let's talk. Give us a call. I'm Ken Schmidt with Steel in the Air. Thank you.